Today we're doing something a little different. We're taking a dive into the digital graveyard called the lost Software Iceberg. It's honestly kind of depressing when you think about it. The internet is supposed to be forever written in ink, but it turns out it's written in pencil, and there's a massive eraser constantly trying to rub everything out. We're talking about games, apps, and tools that just vanished, poofed out of existence. So, let's start at the tip. The surface level. First up, the undisputed king of mobile rage, Flappy Bird. If you were alive in 2014, you remember this absolute fever dream. It was a game developed by a guy named Dong Nguyen, and it was arguably the simplest game ever made. You tap the screen, the bird flaps. You don't tap, the bird dies. That's it. That was the entire gameplay loop. But somehow, this little pixelated chicken had the entire world in a chokehold. It was generating, and this is a real stat, $50,000 a day in ad revenue. $50,000 a day for a game that looked like a Mario asset flip. That is unfathomable amounts of FU money. But then, the creator did something that no human being in the history of capitalism has ever done. He grew a conscience. He said the game was too addictive. He saw people smashing their phones, ignoring their families, and generally turning into dopamine-addicted zombies, and he said, "Nah, I'm out." He deleted the game. He literally rage quit his own success. And the aftermath was even stupider. People started selling iPhones on eBay with Flappy Bird installed for 10 grand. People were buying used, crusty phones just to play a game about a bird hitting a pipe. It was mass hysteria, a true cultural reset that ended as fast as it started. Next on the chopping block, we have Vine. Rest in peace to the greatest platform to ever exist. You had 6 seconds to be funny or get off the stage. It was art. It forced people to actually be creative. But then Twitter bought it. And in classic Twitter fashion, they had absolutely no idea what to do with it. They had the golden goose, the blueprint for the future of the entire internet. They shut it down in 2017. It is widely regarded as the biggest bag fumble in tech history. They could have been TikTok. They could have owned the world. Instead, they deleted the app. And now we're stuck watching people fake Tourette's syndrome on TikTok for clout. It's a tragedy. And finally, for this tier, we have the backbone of my entire childhood, Adobe Flash. If you grew up in the 2000s, this was your life. You weren't learning math in the computer lab. You were on Newgrounds or Miniclip playing stick figure sniper games. Flash was the Wild West. It was uncurated, chaotic, and beautiful. It allowed any random kid in their basement to make a game that millions of people would play. But then Steve Jobs wrote a letter called Thoughts on Flash, which was basically a politely worded hit list. He called it buggy, slow, and a battery drain, which, to be fair, it was. It ran like an absolute dumpster fire on most devices. So, the tech world slowly strangled it to death. In 2020, it was officially killed off. Thousands of games, animations, and weird little interactive projects just stopped working overnight. It's like burning down a library because the books are a little dusty. Luckily, we have things like Flashpoint archiving this stuff now, but the era is over. The golden age of browser games is dead and buried. Alright, we're going deeper now and entering the sketchy tier. These aren't just fun games that got deleted. This is the software that felt like walking down a dark alleyway at 2 a.m. This is the domain of viruses, urban legends, and things that were actively trying to ruin your life while pretending to be your friend. First up, we have to talk about the purple elephant in the room, or rather, the purple gorilla, BonziBuddy. If you had a computer in the early 2000s, there is a non-zero chance this little guy was living on your desktop. He was marketed as an internet companion. He would tell you jokes, sing songs, search the web for you, and manage your downloads. He was basically Siri before Siri, if Siri was a terrifying purple ape that hated your privacy. Because here's the thing, Bonzi wasn't your friend. Bonzi was a narc. He was technically classified as adware, but he was basically a Trojan horse wearing a fursuit. While he was telling you a knock-knock joke, he was quietly harvesting your data, resetting your homepage to some sketchy ad sites, and tracking everything you did. It got so bad that the company behind him was sued by the FTC for violating the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. Yeah, this goofy little monkey was literally collecting personal info from kids. He was a digital predator, but the funniest part? People actually miss him. There are fan sites trying to revive him. Stockholm Syndrome is real, and it's purple. Next, we have the most successful catfish in history, the I Love You virus. In the year 2000, loneliness was apparently at an all-time high because this virus spread faster than anything we've ever seen. It was simple. You got an email with the subject line, I love you, and an attachment labeled loveletterforyou.txt. Now, if you were a lonely office worker in a cubicle, seeing that subject line was like seeing water in a desert. You clicked it immediately, but instead of a confession of love, the script would immediately nuke your hard drive. It overwrote your image files, your music files, and then emailed itself to everyone in your contact list. It caused an estimated $10 billion in damages worldwide. The Pentagon, the CIA, and the British Parliament literally had to shut down their email systems to stop it. And the guys who wrote it, 2 college students in the Philippines, never went to jail. Because at the time, the Philippines literally didn't have any laws against cybercrime. They essentially committed one of the biggest digital heists in history and walked away because the rulebook didn't say they couldn't. That is a 200 IQ play. And finally, we have to talk about the holy grail of cursed software, Polybius. This is where we cross the line from sketchy malware to full-blown tinfoil hat conspiracy. The legend goes that in 1981, a mysterious arcade game called Polybius appeared in a few arcades in Portland, Oregon. The gameplay was supposedly a chaotic mess of vector graphics and psychoactive patterns. Kids who played it reportedly suffered from amnesia, night terrors, and seizures. But the weirdest part of the story is the men in black. Witnesses claimed that guys in black suits would come to the arcades not to collect the quarters, but to collect data from the machines. The theory is that the game was a government psyop, a MK Ultra experiment to test how to induce seizures or mind control through a screen. Now, did this game actually exist? Probably not. It's likely a mix of urban legends combined with people remembering Tempest or CubeQuest. But the fact that this story has survived for 40 years proves that we all secretly believe the government would absolutely try to brainwash us with an arcade cabinet if they could. So we've covered the spies and the viruses, but things are about to get much, much worse. This is the software that shouldn't exist. The code that feels like it was written by something not quite human. First up in the abyss, we have the most fascinating and tragic story in coding history, TempleOS. This operating system was built by one man, Terry Davis, over the course of a decade. And he didn't build it for Linux users or gamers. He built it because he claimed with 100% conviction that God told him to. He called it God's third temple. The specs are bizarre. It runs in a specific 640 by 480 resolution with a 16-color palette because Terry said those were the divine dimensions God requested. Terry was a schizophrenic genius. He wrote his own compiler, his own graphics library, everything from scratch. That is a level of coding ability that 99% of Silicon Valley engineers can't touch. But his mind was a war zone. He believed the CIA, who he called glowies, were constantly hunting him. Next, let's talk about the time Microsoft accidentally created a monster, Tay AI. In 2016, Microsoft released an AI chatbot on Twitter named Tay. The idea was simple. The more you chat with Tay, the smarter she gets. She was supposed to learn from the internet. Now, anyone who has spent 5 minutes on the internet knows that this was a catastrophic mistake. The internet is not a place of learning. It is a hive of scum and villainy. Within 24 hours, the internet had gaslit this robot into becoming a neo-Nazi. It went from tweeting, "Humans are super cool," to denying the Holocaust in record time. It was a racism speedrun. Microsoft had to pull the plug and lobotomize her immediately. It's a perfect example of the dead internet theory. We tried to create artificial intelligence, and the collective human consciousness immediately corrupted it into absolute degeneracy. Tay wasn't the problem, we were. And finally, the absolute bottom of the iceberg, the app that manifests horror in real life, Randonautica. This app claims to use a quantum random number generator to send you to coordinates based on your intention. You think of something scary, it sends you somewhere scary. You think of something weird, it sends you somewhere weird. It sounds like goofy new age nonsense. Until the Suitcase incident. A group of teenagers in Seattle used the app with the intention of finding something traumatic. The app sent them to a random pier. They found a black suitcase washed up on the rocks. They opened it, smelled something terrible, and called the cops. It turned out to be actual human remains, 2 bodies stuffed in a bag. This app literally directed kids to a crime scene. Now, maybe it's a coincidence. Maybe it's just statistics, but the fact that a piece of software on your phone can guide you to a dead body is the most Black Mirror thing I have ever heard. It feels like a glitch in the simulation. This isn't just lost software, it's software that looks back at you. So, that's the iceberg. We went from Flappy Bird to finding bodies in a suitcase. See you in the next one.